Has Aemond Targaryen returned for the filming of House of the Dragon Season 2? And are we going to see the Wall in House of the Dragon Season 2? We're going to get into those topics right now on the Sundowners Club. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And we're going to be talking about House of the Dragon Season 2 today. The information has been a little sparse coming out lately, especially with the strike that's going on in the United States, but they are filming House of the Dragon Season 2, and so there is some information that's come out this week, and according to Redanian Intelligence, Ewan Mitchell, a.k.a. Aemond Targaryen, is filming scenes. We're going to talk about that right now. First of all, Sterling, my co-host, House of the Dragon Season 2 has so far not been a casualty of the strikes going on in the United States, so we've covered a lot of the casting news and some of the plot points that we think are going to be happening without giving any spoilers away to people who have not read Fire and Blood. And we don't want to spoil the scenes because Season 2 is going to be a big one in terms of major plot points for this series. And Aemond Targaryen, first of all, before we get into what we know he is filming right now, what do you think about Aemond Targaryen in Season 1? And what do you expect for him in Season 2? Because you haven't read Fire and Blood.
No, I mean, I thought him and Daemon were the best characters, in my opinion.
And Viserys.
Yeah, I'd say so. He was, I mean, I expect him to kind of be one of the main antagonists. You already know how it is, but he's definitely one of the most interesting characters. I think he's perfectly cast. I never heard of the guy before this show, but I think he could be one of those people that becomes a big star when it's all said and done, you know.
Yeah, he's been in some other series that are period pieces. Played it. I think he played in The Last Kingdom. He's been in some other series, but Ewan Mitchell is, according to Redanian Intelligence, so we'll give them credit for the article that we're talking about today. Aemond was spotted on the set this week, and the photographer UnboxPHd shared what was in essence an aerial video that looks like it's King's Landing, and it looks like Aemond's in charge, and it looks to be the beginning of an execution scene. And so we do know that Aemond is going to take on a bigger role in Season 2. You know, Season 1, if you all remember, ended with him not necessarily intending to kill his cousin, right?
Yeah, they definitely made it like it was
the dragon.
The dragon
Vhagar,
took over. Yeah.
Which is interesting that they chose that because they could have gone another direction with that.
Is that not how it was in the book?
No, it's not. It's not left. It's not explained that it was accidental or they didn't mean to do it. So that was a choice they made for the show. But how he ends up answering when he gets back to King's Landing in the events in the beginning of Season 2, that'll be interesting. Does he take credit for it, or does he tell those around him that are closest to him that it was an accident? You know, that'll be interesting how they play that out. But you know, and we'll show some of the clips from what was, well, in essence, was the video and aerial shot of Ewan Mitchell filming screenshots of that UnboxPHd took. That's on covered by Redanian Intelligence, of the guards around him, and these characters are on their knees, and so he's the classic stance. He's pacing back and forth. So it certainly looks to be an execution scene. You know, also it was noted that Matthew Needham, who plays the creep himself, Larry Strong, who has the foot fetish from Season 1, is on top of a tower looking down. So it definitely looks to be the King's Landing and the Red Keep. And I think what we're going to see in Season 2 is we're going to see Aemond take on a leadership role due to somebody else having to maybe step out. And so without getting into any details, you're going to see more leadership from Aemond for the Greens against the Blacks. And we've mentioned several times that there's obviously going to be a battle of Rook's Rest that we expect to happen. I believe it's going to be somewhere in the middle of the season, maybe episode 3 or 4 of Season 2. They've cut back. Instead of doing 10 episodes like they did with Season 1, they're doing 8. And so we're going to see Aemond take on a leadership role. And, I don't know how you feel about one of the things I loved about Game of Thrones was that even though you had these big battles, there was so much dialogue and interaction of characters in the seasons in between that you can't spend a lot of time on in this series because we know it's basically going to run 4 seasons. So it's going to be half the length of Game of Thrones. But, I mean, are you looking forward to more big battles of the dragons? Do you want to see some of the interaction between the characters like Aemond and Rhaenyra and
Well, I
Daemon?
think they did a really good job in Game of Thrones of setting up the big battles. So by the time they happen, you're really anticipating them. In the first season of Game of Thrones, they would actually skip the big battles. You didn't really have any of it. You saw the aftermath, which I didn't like. I mean, I think for me, that's half the fun of watching the show. It's actually probably the most entertaining part are the battles, and
Yeah.
they do a really good job setting it up. So yeah, I hope they don't pull a budget cut on us and show just the aftermath, which I don't think they will. Technology's come a long way and I think their budget's come a long way too.
And we've talked before about the parent company Warner and that owns HBO and Max that this series will be airing on. This is one of their golden goose IPs. So
Yeah,
I don't
sure.
think they're going to cut corners on the spin. Now, it may have impacted the difference between 10 episodes and 8. It may have impacted that, but I don't think you're going to see a drop off in quality. I've talked about the source that was doing the aerial photos, UnboxPHd, that you guys can find online, and we'll certainly show clips and screenshots of this. But I do want to correct myself. I spoke on a stream the other night, and I think I was wrong. Initially, there were some shots that was unearthed, speaking of UnboxPHd, around what some people thought was the wall. And because Fire and Blood and specifically the Dance of Dragons does not cover, there's no events that are around the wall in the book that I read. And if I'm wrong, someone can certainly leave a comment and correct me. While you're doing that, also subscribe to our channel. We have a lot of Game of Thrones content. So if you like what you hear, you want to hear more about Game of Thrones, George R. R. Martin's world building, Knight of Seven Kingdoms, House of the Dragon, we want to cover all of it for you. So hit that subscribe button. Click on that bell notification so that when we live stream or we do videos, you get notice so you can watch the videos, and hit that like button, and we really appreciate the support. So I was talking on a stream about there were some images that looked like a snowy set, and there were those that thought it was the wall. And because I'd read the book and the wall didn't factor into the Dance of the Dragons, I thought, no, this has got to be Winterfell, because we know that Jace is going to Winterfell. And so
I thought the wall, though, it's all CGI, though. So how are they?
Well, there's some practical sets, and then they'll put CGI around it.
Yeah.
And so the aerial photos that UnboxPHd showed, as I looked again and I clicked on the video and saw it, you can see and I think winteriscoming.net has some footage of it as well, or screenshots. You can see the wooden planks that are on top of the battlements of the wall. And that was in Game of Thrones. That is not at Winterfell, where they have stone that they're walking across.
Right.
So when you're on the very top, if you remember, there were scenes where there were just basically wooden planks you would have to step on or step over, and those are in the shots. So I think I stand corrected that obviously that looks like the wall.
And you said the wall's not in the book at all.
It's not in Fire and Blood, the Dance of the Dragons portion.
Well, I hope they don't deviate too far. But
Well, they have to if they're going to be, unless this is a flashback.
Or it could be a minor scene where he's just flying by it or something. Just
Could be, but the fact that they
service.
But the fact that we talked about the money and the budget, the fact that they built this, that's a set that was built. I tend to think that it's now they built it on the back lot in England, but I'm tending to believe that it's going to be something that's a little bit more than that. So it could still be a flashback, but my guess now is that it's going to be something around Jace and with his dragon as he heads to Winterfell. So that's the only thing I could think of, unless it's a flashback. So it certainly leads to a lot of speculation.
Weren't one of the Stark ancestors, though, have always, some of them have been at the Wall, right?
Yeah.
Maybe maybe that's where they meet them. I don't know.
Well,
I
mean,
hope they don't go.
the expectation is that Jace is going to meet Cregan Stark at Winterfell. But it'll be interesting. Look, this is definitely going to spur a lot of speculation as to, one, what role is this going to play into the season 2 story, the Wall, if it's minor, and how will fans react, especially if they've read Fire and Blood, to any deviation from the books. It could be minor because there were deviations in season 1. Nobody cared. I mean, there was very minimal criticism of season 1. The biggest criticism I heard anybody make was that they jumped 10 years in halfway through season 1, and Millie Alcott is, the characters playing Rhaenyra and Alicent, they aged and they brought in the older actors. I didn't care. I loved it. I was concerned when I first saw it, but I ended up loving it. So that was the only criticism I really heard anybody make. So how they will react to something like the Wall appearing, I think it's all going to depend on how it shows up and how it factors into the story.
Some of those minor changes early on could lead into much bigger changes later. That's the only problem.
Yeah, and speaking of the filming of season 2, George R. R. Martin on his Not a Blog post recently talked about how he stated or believed that they're a little more than halfway done filming season 2, and it got me thinking about Matt Smith, who's playing Daemon Targaryen, and the commitment that his character has to this series through what we believe is going to be 4 seasons. So let's call it the next 4 years. And one of the rumors is that Matt Smith, now that Adam Driver has backed out of or said no to the Fantastic Four film playing Reed Richards, that Matt Smith is the lead option for the playing Reed Richards. So before the strike happened, his publicist or spokesperson had responded that Matt had not been offered the role of Reed Richards.
I think he'd be a better Dr. Doom, honestly.
Well, now they're saying with the strike, they're just saying no comment. So
they don't know what they're going to do. I mean, you hear new rumors.
But how can he pull that off? Because we see how much goes into filming.
It's probably not. It's nonsense. Just like the Adam Driver leak was nonsense. They're losing money on all their Marvel movies right now and their TV shows. They don't know what they're going to do with Fantastic Four. And I think after the Marvels comes out, which
they're talking about it being delayed.
Well,
Marvels.
I expect it will be a flop, though.
It's getting 0 IMAX screens because of Dune 2, unless they delay Dune 2.
I don't see that doing very well. And then once that movie fails to meet expectations, I think there's going to be a big shuffle on,
Well, and his commitment to House of the Dragon, I mean, this is not just a TV series. This is like filming a series of films.
Yeah, but they're not as cohesive as they used to be. I mean, everything used to kind of take place after the other, and so he could do a movie and then not have to do another one for 3 years. But they've been all over the place with
my gut tells me he's done such a great job on these TV series that I guess you could say he had limited roles. He was in The Crown. I think that's what got him the role of Daemon Targaryen, was his role as Prince Philip in The Crown. And then as Daemon in House of the Dragon.
He's already a Marvel character, though.
How Morbius.
How can
Yeah.
I think it's nonsense.
I love Matt Smith. I hope it's nonsense. I don't think it's a good choice, and I don't want anything to, we've seen it with Henry Cavill and other roles. I don't want something like that to pull him away. But I guess this question is, does it, as an X-Men fan, does that have you concerned about
I'm absolutely
X-Men casting
concerned
with hearing all the Fantastic Four stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, you can look at what they've done with all their movies. There's, I am excited about the new Deadpool movie. I think that looks great, but I don't know. X-Men's really their chance to get it right. If anything is going to make Marvel movies relevant again.
Why aren't the and we'll wrap up the House of the Dragon discussion, but why aren't the movie studios looking at something like what Ryan Condal's doing with House of the Dragon, and the casting has been off the charts great. Same thing with Game of Thrones.
It's had some controversies though. It's not
but
perfect.
it's been the casting's been pretty damn good. Like
for the most part,
and again, I know when it's written well and you cast decently, it all comes together. I'd sure like the studios that are making the content that we all grew up loving. I sure would like for them to take a note from the creators and showrunners for House of the Dragon. And because I don't know about you guys, I think the casting's great. I hope Daemon Targaryen, a.k.a. Matt Smith, stays committed to this and sees it through. I think he will. And so we wanted to update you guys on a couple of things around the filming of House of the Dragon Season 2. And we hope you like the content. Again, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. What do you think about them possibly deviating from the books with bringing in the Wall? And then what do you think about the scenes with Aemond taking more of a leadership role in Season 2? And some of the scenes are speculating as he's conducting these executions. What do you think about Ewan Mitchell's portrayal of Aemond Targaryen? Is it someone you love, someone you hate? Let us know what you think. And most of all, after you hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so that you get noticed when we put out a live stream or put out a video. And thank you for listening and watching today, and TCB.